Welcome to today's live session, Cloud Academy Deep Dive. Today we'll explore how you can make training actionable through customization. I'm Francesca Vigliani, and I'm very excited to be here for the second session with Mark Smith, our solutions engineer. Hey, Mark.
Hi, Francesca. I'm happy to be here. It's really nice to see a few returning attendees from the last session we did on training plans. So really excited to be speaking with you all today about this new feature we have at Cloud Academy.
Thank you all for joining us. It's really great to see you again. Feel free to type your questions in the chat box during the live session. We'll answer them at the end of the webinar. Also, I'd like to remind you that this session will be recorded and will be sent to you once it's available. All right, so before we get started, let's discuss why we're here. In our experience, training is often carried out in a standard way. You can prepare your employees for a specific certification, whether it's AWS, Azure, or DevOps, but often these certifications are only roughly correlated with what employees need to actually contribute. Traditional training solutions don't result in high-functioning teams. That's just a fact. So, what about preparing your teams for your own internal processes? And how can they master or acquire skills that are specific to the needs of your organization?
So we know that industry certifications are very important. We know that they're important for various reasons. For example, many enterprises I've worked with in the years I've been doing this, they need to maintain a certain number of these certifications to maintain their partnerships with their vendors. So we definitely don't want to discount the importance of these, and we ultimately have the training on those. But really what we want to do is to help our enterprise customers. We know they want the ability to be able to create and customize training to make it really reflective of their cloud stack.
Exactly. Working in the cloud training field has allowed us to talk to countless companies and have meaningful conversations around training. And one of the recurring feedbacks we receive regards the possibility of combining standard multi-cloud provider training with training related to the company's own stack. We soon realized that this was something that almost everyone inquired about and that there was a specific need. This is why we came up with Content Engine.
Exactly. We listen to our customers on many different levels. And again, this was a functionality that was really wanted and desired. I've seen it myself. And ultimately, our engineers got to work and created a really superior product, something unparalleled in the industry. And we're excited to talk to you about that today.
Indeed. And what do we hear? We often hear managers talking about customizing training, but they just don't know where to start. Well, that's exactly what we're here for. We're here to help you.
So in my previous experience in the last 4 years before I came to Cloud Academy, I was in instructor-led training. I was asked by, there's no telling the number of times I was asked by our customers whether there was a possibility to customize training. There were a variety of reasons why it wasn't possible, and unfortunately I had to be the bearer of bad news, having to say that we couldn't do it. When I came to Cloud Academy, it was just super refreshing to really see this capability and all the work that our product team and our engineers have put into this. And it allows me to be able to say yes to our customers frequently. So it's an awesome experience to be able to do that. We know that enterprises want to create training that mirrors their stack, and they want to be able to assign it out. So the Content Engine is a really unique software solution that provides you the ability to really create custom content reflective of your cloud stack. And then you can combine that with existing Cloud Academy training. Taking that custom content and then using an additional function called training plans, which we've done a webinar before, it allows you to make the training actionable with the due date. And you can track the progress and ultimately measure the level of retention by looking at the exam scores the students are completing along the way. Our customers are currently using Content Engine in a variety of different ways. They're using it to update and make the training relevant to their security policies. They're customizing a lot of different lab steps and rewriting those lab steps, inserting their own PowerPoints, PDFs, videos, possible recorded webinars to really create their own specific learning paths. And just to recap what a learning path is, we'll talk about this a little bit later. Learning path is a learn, do, and validate methodology. So you're learning in it through the courses, you're doing it, getting your hands dirty within the hands-on labs, and ultimately you're validating the skills attained in and through the quizzes and the exams along the way. So what you can do ultimately when you look at the product overall is you can create your own questions, you can create your own exams, and you can even come up with a certification specific to your organization. These customized trainings that we're talking about today using Content Engine are actually they're set apart from any other account. They're solely belong to you. They're made available to your entire enterprise, and you can actually select what teams they should be available to, or you can make them available to the entire company.
So, what does Content Engine exactly do? Let's talk about that. Content Engine combines Cloud Academy's content library with your organization's custom content so as to give your teams the ability to gain fundamental knowledge around technologies with the context of how they're used within your organization. How do we do that? Easy. We give you the chance to extend and customize our platform, allowing you to put training in context of your own tech stack, policies, processes, and job roles. With Content Engine, you'll be able to deliver ongoing training that's highly specific and highly valuable. We basically give you the controls to your own training. You decide how and when to train your teams.
And just to reiterate, so each Content Engine instance, again, it's isolated from other Cloud Academy accounts. It puts you in control at a granular individual and team permissions you can create. You can also create, export, and delete content on demand, but you can configure a creation or a review process so that your team can collaborate on development and drafts as they're being put into progress prior to being publishing. You can get feedback from the different groups that have a vested interest in that.
All right, so without further ado, let's take a look at Content Engine. Take it away, Mark.
So I want to show you briefly. This is what the platform when you open it up as a member after you're signed to Cloud Academy. This is what it looks like. I do want to make a quick plug here on something that we just made available and rolled out last week, which is our skill profiles. This is a chance for you to take some skill assessments at your initial onset, and really what this does is track your process along the way. After you're going through different learning paths and taking additional quizzes in test mode as well as exams, and it updates your skill profile along the way. It's great for the individual to see where they stand, but from a management perspective, you're able to be able to go and see where skill gaps may be in your organization and ultimately identify additional training plans from that. So we're not going to speak much on that today. There'll be more information coming on it, perhaps another webinar later on, but this is an exciting feature should you want to look into it. And you see down here below, we talked about training plans in the previous webinar. So when a user logs in, they see their skill profile as well as the training plan that's been assigned to them. So what I want to do, we're going to work within a learning path and with Terraform today. So what I want to do quickly is pull up this learning path and show you what this looks like and go over the learn, do, and validate methodology I was speaking to. So when you go into a learning path, you can see that this is comprised of one video course, and it's really lab intensive. So you've got your course here, you got 4 or 5 labs, and then ultimately exam to measure the skill retention that you've obtained over time. What we're going to be doing today is looking at one specific lab and a step within that lab to make that reflective of our environment at Acme Corp. So what I'm going to do now is pop over to Content Engine, briefly talk about the UI with you here. So again, the capabilities within Content Engine, this is exactly what our customers asked for. They wanted to make that training very specific to their environment. So you can really see here, you can go through and update your own learning paths. You can put the content in there relative to your security policies, your tagging policies. You can upload PDFs and PowerPoints or videos. Ultimately, you can go in and customize, create labs, using the lab steps that we have, or you can rewrite some of your own, which is a little bit of what we'll be doing today. But another valuable tool here is the fact that you can go in and actually create your own questions that you can subsequently pick from a wide variety of questions that Cloud Academy has in a data bank, but also create your own relative to your stack if you wanted to put those in an exam to perhaps even come up with your own certification. So today what we're going to do in this demo is to show you how you can rewrite a lab to reflect your policies and procedures and subsequently update that learning path with the lab. As a reminder, these capabilities of Content Engine are really vast, and it's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all for every single company. The intent is for this to be a partnership between Cloud Academy and your enterprise, so that way you can use the content engine and all the tools and resources that are available to really fit the way that you do things in your organization. What we're going to do first is go over here to the categories. What this step is doing is this is going to help you to be able to create your own category within the content library specific to the training that you're actually doing at your organization. So the first thing we're going to do here is type in the company, Corp Cloud Training. So we will confirm that. And then we're going to actually make a couple of subcategories. We're going to do one for learning paths. And we will do one for labs. So you can actually make you can pull different courses, you can pull different questions, exams, and make those subcategories as well. But in the interest of time and for this demo, we're only going to work on these specific ones. So once you've done that, it's been added. You pop back over to the lab section. So what I want to show you here is the lab that we're actually going to be working on. So in and through that learning path, I mentioned there was a managing AWS resources with Terraform. Ultimately, when you go into your account for Cloud for Content Engine, you'll have to create these lab steps. In the interest of time, we've kind of gone ahead and uploaded these so you can see what they actually look like. So let's open up this managing AWS resources into Terraform. When you're looking at these steps, there is a step in here for importing an AWS resource into Terraform. I want to click on that so you can see what that looks like. So in this step, the lab allows you to track of the infrastructure Terraform manages. You can track that by storing it in a state called the Terraform.tfs state or .tf state. So you see here, to facilitate collaboration, the state can also be stored on a remote server, but that's outside of the scope of this lab. So what we want to do at Acme Corp is we want to store the state in a remote server. We want to do it in an Amazon S3 bucket. So this part of the lab is not applicable to us, and we want to change that step. So I'm going to close out, and what I want to show you is, again, because of the interest of time, we went ahead and created this lab. You can see it's importing an AWS resource into Terraform using a remote state. When I pop this out, you can look and see that now the remote state is going to be stored in an Amazon S3 bucket with versioning enabled. So this is how the lab was rewritten. I worked with, we have a solid lab team. Logan actually worked with me on this. And these individuals on the Cloud Academy team are there to help, with questions and working with you to make sure you understand the full, functionality of this along with myself. So this is, again, indeed a true partnership and making sure you get the most out of it. But if you're looking through this lab, it was rewritten to make sure that it was all going to be put in that remote state. So just kind of scrolling through there briefly. That's what it looks like at the end. So there's all the lab steps that are in there, and then you've got your summary. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out this step that we don't need, drag it back over here, and we're going to import the step that we want. So it's a very simple drag and drop. And what I want to do now is change the name of the lab to make it Manage AWS Resources with Terraform at Acme Corp. And I'm going to save that. Here is a chance for you to go through and identify where you're going to put it. So obviously when you're in there and you're creating new content, this stuff would not already be selected. So what I want to make sure that we do is we change the category here. And we're going to go down to Acme Corp Cloud Training and make this available in labs. Everything there is told. The software is Terraform. You've got your lab image there. Up here, you have your provisioning templates. Oop, I forgot to save that. Sorry, you have to save after every step. If you don't, it will remind you. You got your provisioning templates. We're not going to make any changes there. And then ultimately your permissions. This is a chance for you to select whether or not you want that lab to be available to the entire company or if you want it to be available to certain teams. So for this lab, we're going to make it available to the entirety of the company. And now that we're done with that, we can pop over back in here and let's just review and make sure the lab, yep, it took in there so we can see that's available. Now what we want to do is to go into the actual learning path. So what I'll do is pull that up. Actually, we're going to create this one from scratch. I apologize. So we're going to name this Solving Infrastructure Challenges with Terraform at Acme Corp. It's going to give you a unique URL. You can come in here and choose a file for the way that's going to look as well. We will just copy this down to the library description, the landing page description. This is going to be an intermediate level course. This is an option that you will not have to worry about when you do this. This is because we're in the Cloud Academy environment. We pick the instructors that are doing this, so we can really just pick anyone random here. This will not be something that you have to do when you're in there. And this is going to be a platform subdomain. Or I'm sorry, software tool. I apologize. Select Terraform, and in your library placement, you'll scroll down again, and you will come to your Acme Corp. And this is, again, this is the learning path, not just the lab. So we're going to put the learning path there. Once you've done that, you click Next. And here's where you start going in to add the sections in this step. So we know you can click between the hands-on labs, quizzes, study mode, courses, certifications. So if I go to courses and type in Terraform, I see the managing infrastructure with Terraform. Then I can go into my hands-on labs. And just typing up Terraform here shows me every single lab that's available. So the first one that we have is to create. And see, if you can see in the background, as I'm selecting these, you can see they're going through on each one. The next one that we'll have is the new Manage AWS Resources with Terraform at Acme Corp. Then we'll have the Deploy, and then we'll have the Provisioning Azure VM. And then there's an exam for Terraform as well, so you can measure that retention. And once you've done that, you complete your sections. And now you kind of go back and make sure you have all the content that you wanted in there. And you click Next. Go to Permissions. Again, this is a chance for you to say whether or not you want it available to the company or to selected teams. We're going to make it available to the company. Click Save. So once you see this here, you notice that it's in draft status. Since it's in draft status, you need to go in and actually publish it. Draft status, again, is a way for you put that in there, you send a notification or an email to someone that you want them to review it, prior to doing it, and assign it to them so they can take a look. But ultimately, we know this is what we needed. We go back to our learning paths again. And we can see that this has been published. Finally, what we want to do after we have done all that information, remember we changed the lab, we updated the learning path with the correct lab, is we want to go into our content library and make sure that it's actually showing up. So as you come down here, you see Acme Corp Cloud Training. You've got your lab that you changed. So your unique lab managing AWS resources with Terraform and Acme Corp, and you've got your learning path. So when you open the learning path up, you remember what it looked like before, and now you have your unique lab within that actual learning path ready for it to be used. It's been published, and it's now available for everyone to go review and actually take the training. You can, again, with combination of training plans, you can go and make this actionable by assigning it out to teams and ultimately measuring their progress and the retention with the exams as well. So with that completes this part of the demo. Again, I want to reiterate that this is just one small part. It's a big part because the labs are what our customers are wanting the most. But ultimately, we want to show you that you can do much more with cloud with the content engine at Cloud Academy. You can go and use it as much as you want. We'll work with you to help you figure out exactly what works best for your organization. But the entirety of the content engine and it's all of the things that it can actually do are going to be available with the enterprise subscription. The same with the training plans and the skill profiles. So with that, Francesca, what I'll do is pop it back up. If we have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer some of those.
Absolutely. So some of the questions that came in were already covered during the webinar, so I'm not going to read those, but we have one person that asked 3 questions that are related to one another. Here's the first. How many questions will I find in the Cloud Academy library?
So in our Cloud Academy library, you have over 14,000 questions to be used for that you can create your custom exams with. And when I say custom exams, that means you can pull those questions in and make up your own exam, or you can actually create your own questions to go in exams too. So just of what we have available, there's over 14,000 questions.
Question number 2, is there a limit to the number of questions that I can create?
So a simple answer to that is no, there's no limit on the amount of questions you can create. I think a couple of people have tried to break the system with the number of questions they've created, but nothing has happened so far. It's all good, and we're having great success with that part of it.
Excellent. And here's another one for you. Can a question be used in an exam right away?
Yeah, so as soon as the question has been created and published, you can put that into an exam and use that, straight away. There's no delay in between creating that question and publishing it, and then actually making that available to be able to put into an exam.
Okay, we have time just for one more question. Let's see this one. James asks, if I publish something, whether it's an exam or a learning path or anything else, will the content be available to all of the employees of the company?
Okay, I kind of touched that on the webinar there a bit. So that gives you the option after you've created that content. It gives you the option on the last step to verify whether or not you want that to be made. Let me first step back and say I want to reiterate that all of your custom content you're creating is separate from any other content engine instance. This is relative to your company only. So any of your specific information that you put in there, any of your specific content you pump in, that's only going to be relevant to your company. It will not be seen in any other content in an engine instance or customer. But that content, once you've made it available and published it, you have the ability to be able to decide whether you want your entire company to see it or if you want to select a few teams which should be doing it. And you can make use of those, particular teams and permissions of whether or not they can edit the content as well.
All right, that's all of the time we have for questions. If we didn't get around to your question, we will respond to you individually via email.
Yeah, thank you all so much for joining. Again, this was a relatively short demo and a very important function within Content Engine. I hope you have been able to see the value that a tool like this possesses, that a tool like this can bring to your organization. The fact that it's unparalleled in the industry right now, and not just content engine, but when you put that in place with training plans and skill profiles, this is really setting organizations up to be able to capitalize on their training to make it the most relevant, to make it the most actionable, and to measure skill along the way. So it's truly a journey as you move up the cloud curve and kind of reevaluating and doing assessments and creating more content as your organization grows. So I hope I've been able to kind of relay to you the excitement that I have when it comes to this product. It was definitely something that brought me to this company. And ultimately, I look forward to working with you. And if you have any questions, you can get me on Twitter, or you can email me at mark.smith@cloudacademy.com. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions, be happy to work with you on some of the other products that we have, and get more in depth on Content Engine if there's additional questions that you have. But thank you so much for your time. We truly appreciate you. We value you, and look forward to the next time that we can speak.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you all for joining us today. Just a quick reminder, we will send you the recording once it's available, and we have more webinars coming up for you, so stay tuned, and until next time, goodbye.